Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel, and in today's video, we're gonna keep on destroying Diecast. No, I'm just kidding. It's a lot more refined than that. But yes, we're continuing on with the damaged racers, thanks to King of Cars 95 once again. His @ will be here, his Instagram will be in the description down below. I highly encourage you guys to check out his socials. He has some really awesome stuff that he's posted, especially on his Instagram. But anyways, without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off, when you think of the first Cars movie, which crash do you think of? Discounting Doc, because we kind of don't see that one play out until Cars 3. That's just a photo. So, of the 36 racers in the original Cars from the Piston Cup at that point in time, 34 of them end up wrecking throughout the course of the movie. The King, of course, having his iconic crash scene, pivotal to Lightning McQueen's character development, and Chuck Armstrong, the Mood Springs racer, having the most iconic, "Don't take me out, coach, I can still race," line in the movie. And of course, he does still end up racing because of an animation error for a brief period. But, you know, they're two very iconic scenes. But outside of them, the third most iconic scene, and arguably could be even more iconic than the other two, is, of course, during the huge Motor Speedway of the South crash, where none other than Todd Marcus and Claude Scruggs end up crashing. So, here we go. Yeah, Todd Marcus and Claude Scruggs all damaged up. This is the next custom we're going to be taking a look at today. So, without further ado, let's get them right side up, and let's get some stills of the movie. So, to quickly recap what happens, Claude Scruggs is part of the huge crash. You know, everybody, absolute pandemonium, everybody's crashing all over the place. And he kind of just comes to a rest on the racetrack alongside Billy Oilsanger. And they both share a very nervous laugh, thinking that they got through the worst of it. And then, pow! Billy gets struck by Hauling Goss and James Clean Air. Claude looks to his left to see if anybody's coming for him. And Todd Marcus is like a homing missile coming straight at him. And Claude has nowhere to go. And the two of them just kind of get swept up together. Claude ends up on Todd's roof. And we don't see them again until Lightning McQueen comes into the wreckage and starts weaving through cars. And then when he's about, you know, at the point where the track is blocked, there's Claude sitting upside down on Todd Marcus. And McQueen sees this as the perfect opportunity to use him as a jumping board to get over the rest of the crash. Poor Claude, man. Let's start with Claude here. Let's get into Claude first. Because he definitely did not have... He had the worst time, if you ask me. Even though his body is in relatively better shape, he is definitely going to be aching for weeks, if not months to come. So, starting with the expression, I wanted to try and use decals to change it so that they could be looking up more accurately, but it just did not look good at all, in my opinion, and I am not about to, you know, send out subpar products. So, painting was the way to go for this, and I color matched his yellow very well. Of course, I used some white to cover up the lower eyelid, and I'd say it came out pretty darn well. He's also got some damage over here, which I used some, you know, dark gray paint to kind of, wash the, damage in, so that the scratches have more depth to them. But the left side is where the meat and potatoes are. First of all, shredded some Lightyear text off of the tires to make his tires look a bit worn and, you know, crash damaged. And then here's where the meat and potatoes are of the crash. The paint transfer from Todd Marcus all the way across the side. Of course, we got some dark gray up here to kind of represent Todd's racing stripes. That's how they represented it in the movie, so that's how I went with it. And then a nice bright red gas, which almost looks like the other thing, but since it's just paint, we're good. Now, admittedly, working with Thailand cars to damage them like this is a bit of a pain, because sometimes the decals sip off more than you want, since it's all just one big giant decal rather than China's way of doing it, even to this day. So, we did lose a bit more of a decal than I thought I would, but I was able to to cover it up nicely with the paint transfer. So that thankfully worked out in the end. And then we, of course, have a nice little bit of damage over here. Now, his rear end actually didn't take any damage at all. Lucky him. But his right side definitely did, with some more light year text being scrubbed off, and some more dark wash to make the scratches on this side come out, as, you know, he took some general damage during the crash. Maybe he hit a wall or a couple other cars before he came to a stop, because this is all there early on. This is all there pretty early on, I believe, with some scratches being added later, but not a lot. Anyway, that's Claude. On to Todd. Todd, meanwhile, had a lot more body damage. His front and rear are both propped up in the movie, so I used a heat gun to kind of mold them into place. As such, this is also kind of a test to make sure he's going to stay in place properly, because both of his rivets are no longer completely connected with the posts on the body. So he's only being held up by some glue over here. It is industrial strength glue, so it should hold, but this is just a test. Anyway, moving on to the Expression again, same deal. Kind of made him look a bit more worried. Tried to make him look upwards, which kind of works with the way his body is angled. And he's got a nice, nasty scratch across the front of his vehicle here. Not much over here. A little bit over here, but not much. Not as much as this. And moving on to the left side, it's once again where the meat and potatoes lie, because him and Claude kind of got together like that. Boom. You know, like that. So, yellow paint transfer is the name of the game, and in my opinion, Todd Marcus is just one of my favorites to do. This thin yellow stripe of paint transfer is one of my favorite details throughout the movie. It contrasts so nicely on Todd's red body. It just looks great. And then, of course, you have his racing stripe up here, which I was talking about, which transferred on over to Claude. His tires are a bit, you know, marred, as well as adding the red trim, which, you know, Mattel has failed to do for the past 20 years. Yeah, almost 20 years Todd has been around in the Diecast line. And, you know, so I just add it to every single one of my Todd Diecast. Heck, I even add it to my normal one. But yeah, he's got some other scratches over here. He's got some quarter panel damage. The quarter panel is kind of sticking out a bit as well. And he's got a bit of a gas on his spoiler here. Moving on to the rear bumper, he was not as lucky as Claude, got damaged all around. Some nice damage on the rear bumper. This could have been from the crash, or it could have been from before. Not sure, but it is there throughout the crash. Moving along to the right side here, some more damage on the right quarter panel, along with a nice sticking out fender. We can kind of see inside of the body a bit here. That's a cool detail. That's always fun. I love doing these kinds of customs where the body parts are just mangled, so that way we can get a nice look into the body. And then we've got, of course, the gases on this side. Some nice deep scratches, as well as, you know, just overall damage. And again, rim trim and light year text rubbed off. So yeah, that will about do it for my review on these guys. Two very awesome customs. I always love making this pairing. They're so much fun to make, since they just bounce off of each other perfectly like they did in the movie. Especially where Claude kind of, you know, goes up and over, wee, you know, that kind of stuff. It's just fun. Yeah, so without further ado, I will get a quick look with their normal variants, or at least some version of them. There's my personal favorite Claude variant, the rubber tire Sino version. And the, this one I think is like a 2009 Todd or something. It's from the launcher set, I believe. And yeah, I mean, you can see the differences in the diecast line over the years with, you know, the eye plates and everything. You know, some stuff that's not looked favorably upon. But, you know, these look like a very nice set. Before the race, after the race. Pumped up and ready versus, oh my god, let it end. But yeah, as you can tell, I had a lot of fun making these. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I will catch you all in the next one. Bye!